So I'm going to do a little video walkthrough here to give you a sense of the scale of the property and to give you some ideas of what we were thinking about doing with it. So this is coming in from the driveway. You can see the road there. And as you come in, the first main building is the what we call the unattached barn, as opposed to the barn that is attached to the side of the house. And if we kind of head over here, we can take a look on the inside of the barn and see what that looks like. We'll get to that funny little building in the back there in a minute. So looking inside, it's obviously a pretty raw space, but it's a nice big barn. Probably needs a little work on the doors. They do open, but could stand to be replaced and made a bit more square. May need a little bit of work on one corner to be squared up, but basically it's all in good shape, ready for use for whatever you might want to do with a barn. If we were staying, we were thinking about concreting the floor, but it's a pretty decent dirt floor. Could also just be done in wood, whatever suits you there. So we're coming around past the kind of backside of the house, the attached barn. And what's right in front of us is the old hen house, which we had thought about taking down, but actually, although it looks pretty rough, is totally salvageable. So we decided to leave it in place, and if you're interested in having hens. So this is the worst side of it, obviously. Needs a new side and a roof over here. But if you come around the other side, and we can take a little look in the door here, it's actually, just gonna move this log that's holding the door closed. It's actually in pretty decent shape in many respects. The roof over here probably needs new shingles, but is fine. Going up to the top, gotta get rid of the wasp's nest, but that's not a big deal. But the overall structure is pretty sound. So we figured we'd leave it in place, and if anybody's interested in raising chickens, you've got yourself the beginning of a nice little hen house out in the back, or if you did decide you wanted to get rid of it, that wouldn't be that big of a deal either. So you can see coming around over to the side, there's the back of the freestanding barn. And we had to have an old tree taken down. That's what the lumber that's left there. We also left some of the bigger logs, thinking that we might want to use them, maybe even to leave a couple of them out in the yard and cut into them to have some seating, but you could do whatever you wanted there. We're still all in our yard here. Everything that you can see that's mowed is all part of the property. It just extends a little drop over there in the trees down to the stream, which we'll come around to in a second. So this is, of course, all really open area that you could use for small farming, garden, goats, pretty much whatever you can think of. There's folks that even keep horses on this size of a plot. And we've actually got a ton more land back here that isn't cleared yet. This is all leading down to the stream area. And I want to just kind of orient you a little. So if you were to come to the back of the hen house, this is another good reason for leaving it up, because it is directional. This is a pretty easy way to get down to see the stream. So if you go right direct to the back and just kind of walk through the brush here, we can get to a little overlook where we can look down into the stream. So the stream actually is the boundary of the property in the back. You can just sort of hear it babbling there a little bit if the truck noise isn't too much. And one of the things that we were thinking about doing if we had stayed was actually to clear this area that I'm standing on now, and make kind of a deck or some sort of a sitting and viewing area for the stream, just, you know, sort of directly out behind the house there. Thought that might be a nice way to take advantage of that part of the property. But all of this uncleared area is also part of it. So if you wanted to, you know, make something that was a bit larger in terms of clearing out space for, again, you know, more farming or something like that, you've got everything all the way over here. This is another decent access point to the stream. It's a pretty low slope from here. You can see that birch maybe in the distance. That's hanging right out over the stream back there. So if you remember the pine tree, that's another good way to get back to the stream. I know right now it looks like it's super easy to see everything, but we arrived here in the summer when everything's all grown in, and having those markers to figure out how best to get into things would really help. We really like this pine tree too. We were thinking that that would be a fun thing to, you know, kind of do up for Christmas. This is a nice old apple that's been pruned in the last couple of years, so that's in quite good shape. And as you go over here to the other side of the house, we're still going on our land. Now we're getting into a little stand of pines. And again, lots of potential here. What we were actually thinking of doing in this section is putting up a couple of cabins that we could use as kind of guest cottages, both for our own friends and then maybe to rent out on Airbnb. So that's certainly an option. And in fact, we go even further. I'm not going to walk into it, but we go about maybe 20 feet or so into this part of the woods. And again, just kind of following a straight line back down to the stream, and that becomes the boundary. There is a pole at the front, which marks where the entry to this is, or where the boundary line is. It's basically just at the kind of corner of this other sign here for Main Street North. So if you, again, walk back from where you can see that little street sign, just out to the back, that gets us. So here you can get kind of a view of the whole thing. The scale, again, just circling around back to the road and the property on the other side. It's a pretty nice large chunk of land, mostly cleared. Tons of potential for whatever you might want to do with it. We were thinking about homesteading, but you know, the possibilities are yours.